When you walk into a bakery, few things smell as heavenly as a tray of freshly baked croissants. That buttery aroma, that crisp golden crust, and the soft airy interior instantly transport you to Paris, even if you're standing in the middle of New York or Los Angeles. But have you ever wondered how millions of these delicate French pastries are made inside massive factories that run day and night to meet the demand of supermarkets, coffee shops, and restaurants across the United States? Today we're pulling back the curtain and stepping into one of the largest croissant factories in the world, where tradition meets technology, and where every layer of dough tells a story. From the moment flour is poured into giant mixers to the second croissants emerge from enormous ovens, golden and flaky, you'll see how one of the world's most beloved pastries goes from humble ingredients to mass production without ever losing its soul. The croissant story begins long before modern conveyor belts and industrial ovens. Its roots trace back to Austria, where a crescent-shaped pastry known as the Kipferl was enjoyed as early as the 13th century. It wasn't quite the buttery croissant we know today, but its curved shape and tender crumb planted the seed for what would become a French icon. The pastry's leap into French culture came with Marie Antoinette, the Austrian-born queen who introduced her homeland's treat to Paris after marrying King Louis XVI. From there, the French bakers refined it, elevating it with layers of rich butter and precision folding, creating the croissant we recognize now, a pastry that symbolizes French elegance. Today, croissants aren't just a European delicacy, they've conquered the world. In the United States, they've become a breakfast staple, often surpassing donuts and bagels in popularity, found in nearly half of retail bakeries and coffee shop chains. Americans may not have grown up with croissants as part of their morning routine, but they've quickly become part of the nation's pastry love affair. Inside the factory, the process begins with something deceptively simple: mixing the dough. Flour, water, sugar, salt, yeast, and most importantly butter are measured out in exact proportions. This is not just any flour, it's high-quality wheat flour chosen for its strength and ability to trap air bubbles, giving the croissant its airy texture. In industrial mixers the size of small cars, these ingredients are blended for nearly half an hour. Workers monitor the process carefully, making sure the dough develops just the right elasticity. Too little mixing and the structure collapses, too much and the dough becomes tough. When the dough is ready, smooth and supple, it's allowed to rest in warm, humid chambers for 1 to 2 hours. This fermentation stage is critical. Yeast feeds on sugar, producing carbon dioxide, which causes the dough to rise and develop flavor. The science is precise, but the result is something almost magical: the birth of the croissant's light, airy soul. Once the dough has risen, the next stage is where the artistry truly begins: lamination. This is the process of layering butter between sheets of dough, folding and rolling it again and again to create dozens, even hundreds of thin alternating layers. In smaller bakeries this is done by hand, but inside a factory, powerful rolling machines handle the job. Sheets of dough as wide as dining tables are stretched thin, then covered with slabs of chilled butter. The dough is folded over the butter, rolled flat, and folded again. This process is repeated multiple times, creating the flaky layers croissants are famous for. Every fold matters. The difference between a croissant that shatters into delicate flakes when you bite it and one that feels dense lies in the precision of this lamination process. The temperature of the butter is key too. Too soft and it melts into the dough, ruining the layers. Too hard and it cracks. To get it just right, factories carefully control both the dough's and butter's temperature at every stage, ensuring consistency across millions of pastries. After the lamination is complete, the dough is rolled into long sheets and cut into triangles, the shape that defines a classic croissant. Workers or automated cutters slice the dough with perfect symmetry, ensuring uniformity. Each triangle is then rolled from base to tip, forming the iconic crescent shape. Watching rows of machines roll thousands of croissants in unison is mesmerizing. It's like a perfectly choreographed dance of dough. The croissants are then placed onto large trays or conveyor belts, where they will undergo another rise. This proofing stage is when the croissants nearly double in size, becoming pillowy and soft. Walking into the proofing chamber is like stepping into a warm cloud. The air is humid, the smell of yeast is strong, and trays upon trays of crescents seem to breathe as they rise. Finally comes the moment of truth: baking. Industrial ovens stretch longer than most kitchens, with multiple layers of trays moving slowly through the intense heat. The ovens are set to precise temperatures, carefully calibrated to bake croissants evenly on the outside while ensuring the inside remains soft and airy. As the butter inside the dough melts, steam is released, puffing up the layers and giving the croissant its distinct honeycomb-like interior. The golden crust forms, shiny and crisp, often brushed with egg wash before baking to give it that irresistible sheen. The smell inside the baking room is enough to make anyone weak. It's the intoxicating blend of butter, caramelized dough, and warmth that every bakery goer dreams of. When the croissants exit the ovens, they are cooled quickly on racks to prevent condensation from softening their crust. Once cooled, they move onto packaging lines. Some croissants are left plain, destined for bakeries and supermarkets where customers will enjoy them fresh. Others are filled with chocolate, almond paste, or cream, turning them into decadent treats. Machines wrap them in airtight packaging to maintain freshness during transport, while others are frozen immediately to be shipped across the country, ensuring that even croissants sold thousands of miles away from the factory still taste fresh when baked or reheated. The scale of production is staggering. Factories can produce hundreds of thousands of croissants in a single day, each one maintaining the same delicate texture and buttery flavor as the next. But behind all this industrial efficiency, there remains a sense of artistry. Croissants may be mass-produced today, but they carry centuries of tradition, skill, and cultural significance. They're not just pastries, they're symbols of comfort, indulgence, and the small luxuries that make mornings special. Whether enjoyed with coffee on a Parisian café terrace or picked up with a latte from your local Starbucks, the croissant has a universal charm. In the US, it has become more than just breakfast. It's part of the weekend brunch culture, part of bakery aisles and grocery stores, and even the base for innovative creations like croissant sandwiches and the now famous Croissant. What makes the croissant so enduringly popular is not just its taste, but the experience it offers. When you bite into one, you first hear the delicate crackle of its crust, then taste the buttery richness as the soft inner layers melt in your mouth. Have you ever wondered how millions of buttery, flaky croissants make their way from factory lines to coffee shops, bakeries, and grocery store shelves across America every single day? That golden, crescent-shaped pastry sitting on your breakfast plate has a much more fascinating journey than most people realize. Behind its delicate layers lies a story of art meeting engineering, where traditional French craftsmanship blends seamlessly with high-tech food manufacturing. In today's deep dive, we're pulling back the curtain on the mesmerizing process of croissant production. How a lump of dough is transformed into thousands of perfectly puffed pastries at lightning speed, ready to delight hungry customers across the country. Croissants may be a French classic, but their popularity in the United States has skyrocketed over the past few decades. From Dunkin' to Starbucks, from frozen supermarket packs to artisan bakeries, croissants have cemented their spot as a beloved breakfast staple. Whether it's a plain buttery croissant, a chocolate-filled indulgence, or a savory ham and cheese variation, this pastry speaks to America's love for both convenience and flavor. The secret to its magic lies in the lamination process, the careful layering of butter and dough that creates the light, airy, flaky texture we can't resist. In small bakeries, this is done by hand, but in factories producing millions of croissants each year, machines take over with incredible precision. The process begins with massive batches of dough, prepared in industrial mixers large enough to handle hundreds of pounds at once. These mixers knead flour, water, sugar, yeast, and milk into a smooth, elastic base. Then comes the star ingredient, butter. But instead of being mixed directly into the dough, the butter is layered. Sheets of dough are rolled out wide and flat, then folded repeatedly with slabs of chilled butter tucked between them. This process, known as rolling and folding or lamination, is repeated many times to create hundreds of ultra-thin alternating layers. Each fold traps tiny pockets of butter, and when baked, the water inside the butter turns to steam, lifting and separating the dough into that irresistible flaky puff. This step is the beating heart of croissant making, and industrial laminating machines can repeat the process with speed and consistency far beyond what human bakers could achieve by hand. Once the dough has been laminated, it's rolled thin into enormous sheets, sometimes stretching as long as conveyor belts themselves. At this point, precision cutting begins. The sheets of dough are sliced into strips and then trimmed into perfect triangular shapes, the classic croissant template. In smaller bakeries, this might be done with handheld cutters, but in factories, sharp automated blades glide swiftly across the dough, slicing hundreds of triangles every minute. Each triangle must be identical in size to ensure even baking and consistent quality across the batch. Next comes shaping, one of the most mesmerizing stages of production. Automated shaping machines carefully grip the base of each triangle, then roll it forward with smooth, controlled pressure. In a matter of seconds, what was once a flat triangle of dough becomes a neatly coiled crescent. The uniformity is astonishing. Machines can sculpt more than 1,000 croissants per hour with near-perfect precision. For croissants destined to be filled with chocolate, fruit jam, or cream, injection systems add fillings before the rolling process. A quick squirt of gooey chocolate or tangy raspberry transforms a plain croissant into a decadent treat, and the shaping machine ensures the filling is wrapped snugly inside the buttery layers. After shaping, the croissants enter a proofing chamber, where warm, humid air activates the yeast in the dough. This step is crucial. It allows the pastries to rise and develop their soft, pillowy interior. In factories, proofing chambers are carefully climate-controlled to mimic the same conditions bakers use in small shops. Rows upon rows of raw croissants slowly expand, their layers separating into visible ridges that promise flaky perfection. Once proofed, they're brushed with a thin layer of beaten egg, which bakes into a glossy golden crust that looks as good as it tastes. The next stop is the oven, and here modern food technology truly shines. Industrial ovens are massive, with conveyor systems that move trays of croissants steadily through zones of controlled heat. The temperature hovers around 180 to 200 degrees Celsius, roughly 355 to 390 Fahrenheit, and airflow systems circulate heat evenly around every single pastry. In just 15 to 20 minutes, pale dough is transformed into rows of golden, puffy crescents, each one boasting that signature crisp crust and airy interior. The sight of thousands of croissants rising and browning simultaneously is nothing short of hypnotic. Baking might be the most dramatic moment, but the journey isn't finished yet. Once cooled, croissants move to the packaging line. Automation again takes center stage here. Robotic arms gently lift the delicate pastries and arrange them into boxes, bags, or vacuum-sealed packs designed to extend shelf life. Some are sealed in protective wrappers for shipping to grocery stores, while others are packed in bulk cartons destined for cafes and restaurants. Every package is labeled, coded, and stacked for distribution, ensuring these pastries arrive fresh to customers across the country. It's a carefully orchestrated ballet of machines, all working in harmony to handle fragile food at incredible speeds. What makes this process even more fascinating is how the industry is adapting to modern trends. Plant-based croissants, made with vegan butter alternatives and dairy-free fillings, are becoming increasingly popular. In fact, large bakeries in the US are experimenting with recipes that reduce environmental impact by up to 50%, which is said to be the equivalent of planting thousands of trees each year. This shift not only meets the growing demand for sustainable and vegan products but also shows how food technology is evolving while keeping the essence of traditional pastries intact. Croissant production in America is also tied to convenience culture. Frozen croissants, partially baked and shipped to supermarkets or cafes, allow customers to enjoy bakery-fresh pastries at home. Chains like Costco and Trader Joe's stock freezers full of ready-to-bake croissants that expand into buttery clouds in a home oven. At the same time, artisan bakeries continue to thrive, proving that despite mass production, there's still demand for handcrafted pastries with a personal touch. The balance between tradition and technology is what makes the story of croissants so uniquely American today. Behind every bite of a croissant lies years of innovation in both food science and engineering. Factories must balance efficiency with quality, making sure that even when millions are produced, each one still delivers that buttery, flaky satisfaction. For many Americans, croissants are more than just a pastry. They're a small indulgence that turns an ordinary morning into something special. Whether paired with coffee on the way to work, filled with chocolate for an afternoon pick-me-up, or served alongside eggs in a weekend brunch, croissants have earned their place in everyday life. Next time you take a bite of a croissant, think of the journey it took, from a massive industrial mixer through countless folds of butter and dough, across precise cutting blades, into shaping machines, through proofing chambers, ovens and packaging lines, before finally reaching your hands. It's a reminder of how far food has come, blending tradition with innovation to bring timeless treats into modern lives. And while nothing beats a fresh croissant from a corner bakery in Paris, the ability to enjoy a warm, flaky pastry in any American city is thanks to the marvels of large-scale croissant production. So, the next time you grab a croissant on your morning coffee run, remember, you're not just biting into dough and butter, you're tasting centuries of tradition perfected by science, scaled by machines, and delivered straight to your plate with incredible precision. That's the beauty of the modern food world. A perfect harmony of craft and technology, giving us all the chance to enjoy a little piece of culinary magic whenever we want.